doing pretty good?
Yeah!
So welcome to Buffalo, sir. It's nice to be here. Right here. Buffalo, New York. We talked so long ago that a lot of you know this, like the cell match, better than you know the catchphrase.
Yeah. But it's still a hit. It's still a hit.
Yeah,
A bit of a
it's
pop.
a smattering of applause. I know a courtesy clap.
So may I first ask, how are you doing, sir? How's the health? How's life? How's the family?
I doing okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm walking better than I did like 15 years ago, right? From that hip and knee replacement, so I'm working on the weight, I've dropped some, I got a long way to go. But it gives me something to aspire to.
Right. And well, you were gonna have the retirement match.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a retirement match for my 60th birthday, and then doing something very simple. I got a little bit of concussion. That was a sign to me, and I also thought the hip replacement has helped me so much. And one of the reasons that I was going to do the comeback match was do the move I'd always wanted to do, but never had the chance. That's to drop an elbow off the TV truck.
Come on.
And, I could foresee that just taking that ball and socket, that is my hip, and just destroying it. And so I thought, I'm doing this so I can have a better quality of life,
right?
Not to ruin $60,000 of work, So those two things combined, the hip and the concussion, made me realize it was not a good idea to have that final match.
So and I think we're all appreciative of that, because we want you along with us as long as you possibly can, as healthy as you possibly can be. But what now? Have you gotten anything that's replaced that as a goal for you? Like what's next on Mick Foley's mountain to climb?
I think we've got some projects in the works. One of them may come through. In the meantime, you can always visit my table here at the convention. Nervous laughter like these cons can be expensive, that's why it's smart to come around and see the panels and get to see people, people work hard, you got to make your choices, but if you want to make a good choice. And then I love doing the cameo videos, I really do. I was explaining to a longtime friend of mine how I thought they've helped me with concussions, because I always try to come up with like a catchy birthday song that's not happy birthday to you. And while I'm singing the song, I'm trying to think of the rhymes that will work with that person's name. So it's like playing, word games and mind games. And I think it's been really helpful.
So I think what we've all just heard is that Mick can rap. that's what I heard.
Rap.
It sounded like.
Here's the thing. I cannot sing, but I can sing in character. So I can sing as Mankind or Dude Love. Yeah, I can. Maybe we have any birthday boys out here?
Who's got a birthday? Well,
nobody, okay.
Well, wasn't it just your birthday?
It was my birthday a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and then it was, we got a birthday for you. All right, someone back there.
Oh, Sim too.
Well, come on up here and I'll serenade you. Come on. If the boy, come on up here and film this if you want. I wish I had the Mankind mask. All right, so what is your name? Owen, here you go. All right. So I'm going to sing you a song, okay? Hot dogs grilling on your barbecue, candles lighting up your cake. Mankind matches on an old VCR, that cell match wasn't fake. Oh, for goodness sake. Some presents and some cold, hard cash, Owen. That's what makes this big day nice. A birthday cake with a scoop of ice cream on the side. Is it just me or is he not smiling? Make sure to save this guy a slice. You know that Dude Love's on his way. He's bringing all his old catchphrases and cliches. Mercy. And your mom's gonna hide and try to see if he's every bit as groovy in real life as he is on your TV. So I'm serving up this tasty tune. Seems like the Mick Foley thing to do. Although it's been said many times, many ways, sing it. Happy birthday to you. All right. This appears to be the worst birthday of your life. Enjoy the rest of it, okay, buddy? All right. Thanks so much. The last person I did a birthday song for in person was last week. When I say John Cena, I'm talking about John's dad, John Cena Sr. I serenaded him for his 80th birthday. He had tears in his eyes. Really, really nice. So John Cena and The Rock were not there, but John Cena's dad and The Rock's brother-in-law were there.
That makes sense. And their managers. Awesome. So like I said, folks, if anyone has a question, if you want, feel free. You're just going to, as you know. There
you go.
Well, let's get this party started. All right. We'll wait till everyone gets lined up.
We'd like a couple female voices in that line, too.
Come on, Abby.
Are you sure? Want to ask it from your chair? Okay. All right, fire away.
Mr. Foley, good to meet you again. You've been to Buffalo many times. I usually try to come out and see you.
Thank you.
I hate to set this precedent right off the bat by asking two
I
questions.
hate to do it. Don't do it.
But my first question for you, it's just they're awkward questions, but did you ever at any point like pain?
Oh, no. It's not as if I went home and put my hand on a hot stove. I was good at absorbing it. I realized, that was kind of my superpower. And I had the ability to visualize, and I had a couple of hand-eye coordination. So I wasn't athletic, but I had some things I could do by utilizing my imagination and the hand-eye coordination. So those were kind of my secret weapons. But no, I never actually enjoyed it. I endured it. I was good at it. It set me apart. But I cannot say I ever actually. It was like there's nothing fun about trying to walk on a, destroyed hip or knee. So yeah, no, I never actually enjoyed it.
So what you said in 1997 to JR in that interview was pretty accurate.
Yeah, oh yeah, I was talking, and that was 97, that was 27 years ago. So if I was feeling awful at that age, all in all, not too bad. I mean, there were a lot of people predicting I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. And I'm almost double that age, and I'm doing pretty good. Pretty. Thank you. Quick story about that catchphrase. It was me, Kurt Angle, and Jay Lethal and had a middle school in India. And I made a remark, and I said, pretty good. And I went, pretty. And Kurt goes, man, no one has any idea what you're talking about. And I said, pretty. He said, stop it, you're embarrassing me. Pretty. As long as Jay Lethal popped, that's all I care about. I'll take a crowd of 600 people and make one of them laugh and think that's good odds. So it's all about creating an impact.
I gotta ask you about the Conrad Thompson podcast that you're doing with him. I was a huge fan of it, listen every week. What happened with that? Why did you
I just thought I covered all the things that were worth covering. And when you're taking a deep dive, I got to the point where we were starting to talk in depth about matches I didn't have strong recollections for. And what that means is it was neither great or really bad, because those are the things you remember in your life. You remember the great moments, and you remember the time you were bullied on the playground. Like these great and bad memories stick with you forever. And when you start taking things from the middle that you're not passionate about, it's kind of, like a disservice to the people, even though it would have been enjoyable. But I mean, you want to peak, I mean, technically, Happy Days still ran for 4 years after Fonzie jumped the shark. It was never quite the same. And if I'm on the show talking in depth about matches that didn't mean much to me, it doesn't feel authentic.
It didn't feel like you were into it when you were eating during the entire podcast anymore.
And look, one of the last podcasts I did, and I love Conrad, really, we enjoyed working with him. When I had my son Mickey on, and some people were like, that was my favorite show because you could just see how you were beaming. My son's a good guitar player, an excellent guitar player. And he was playing my theme, and he was playing Enter Sandman, and that was probably my favorite episode, just having my son there with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And can I, just to piggyback on that,
Yeah.
is Jay Lethal never making the WWE like the biggest travesty? Like, cause he is a
So
great
good, he's
performer.
such a great, heel.
Does everybody know Jay Lethal? ROH, like, the ROH legend, like, I think that's where everyone.
Yeah, I don't know the
Yeah, I
answer to
know,
that,
yeah.
but he's
Sorry.
really good.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him his props. Go ahead, brother.
Well, thanks again for coming back to Buffalo. My guess is you probably hold you're probably second place in regard to the person who has broken the most bones after Evel Knievel. So my question to you is, do you remember the first time you broke your bone, and do you actually know how many times you've actually broken a bone over your
Yeah,
career?
here's the thing, I didn't break that many bones. My style lends itself to like lots of bruises, lots of contusions, lacerations, but like I never had my neck operated on because I didn't put myself in situations where my neck was at risk. So, and I very, very rarely missed a match. You know, like I would go years at a stretch without missing a single match. And even after the cell, I wrestled the next night. I don't know if people remember that. It wasn't a long match, but I was out there. And then I went home for 4 days, and then I was back on the road. So I don't know how many bones I broke. I'm told I broke my big toe when I was a baby, and then I remember being a catcher. It was Little League, but I was 12, and a guy named Matt Wilson, he was 6'11" and 14, and he threw like 90. And I was a pretty good catcher, but that fastball came in, I'm like, I think I just broke my thumb. And I continued catching for like another 9 pitches, and I thought, I think part of that superpower is that nobody in my family believed me. They thought I was, faking it or imagining it. And so I was actually really proud when I came home with that cast on my wrist, because I knew I wasn't crazy. But that's the first time I recall breaking a bone.
I appreciate it.
But
Thanks
people
again.
broke a lot more than I did.
Thanks again for coming back to Buffalo. I appreciate
But
it.
he still had both his ears when he died.
So you got one up on him.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, buddy.
Mick Foley, I want to ask you, how did you got into wrestling?
Oh, I got into wrestling by being part of a ring crew for a local promoter in the New York City area. And so,
Because I'm trying to break into the
Yeah.
business.
well, you might want to try it my way by setting up rings and selling hot dogs and taking jackets and being kind of security. Or then you find somebody in the area. It's a lot easier now than it was when I was breaking in, because now you can Google wrestling schools in your area and you see, and you get a couple workouts.
I heard you jumped off your roof to break into the business.
We don't suggest that.
Well, I did jump off my roof. I jumped off Danny Zucker's roof. It wasn't my roof, okay? So let's get our story straight, all right? But I didn't do it to get into the business. I did it to try to make an entertaining home movie, and then it turned out the promoter saw it. So it did help me get in the business, but that's not why I made the movie. Okay? So no jumping off houses, all right? If I find you're jumping off houses, I'll be upset with you, okay? All right, thanks, my friend. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
There we go. There's a female voice.
There you go.
Hi, so I was wondering, in a perfect world, if you could come back to the ring and have one of your characters win another title, who would you choose and what title?
Is the 24/7 title still available?
No, they took that away.
But if you want to choose that, you can choose it.
No, if I was gonna come back, it wouldn't be for a garbage title like that. The one that evaded me was the IC title, so maybe, maybe Dude Love could slip in and win on it and then retire in the same night. I might be interested in that. Where's the little fellow who I helped, came in with? Where's the little
Oh,
guy?
he's in mine.
Oh, he's in mine, okay.
You got two, I call them 7-Eleven. They are historians.
All right, go ahead.
All right, that was all I had.
Thank you so much, yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Not too bad.
Hey, I heard the story.
Pretty.
I heard you went to school with Kevin James.
I did. Yeah, you wanna know what that was like?
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, he became a lovable teddy bear, but in high school, he was a tough kid, right? He was one of only 2 kids in a school of 2,400 who benched 300 pounds. In case you're wondering, I was not the other kid. And when I went out to the wrestling team, he was the heavyweight. And by rolling around and beating up on each other, and occasionally choreographing a match together where we're like, we don't need to work this hard. Do side roll on me, I'll come up out of this, and we actually choreographed matches in the Ward Mellow. Nobody's filming that, are they? But honestly, the opportunity to wrestle with someone who is, much better athlete, much more powerful guy, and hold my own, gave me the confidence. If I hadn't had that experience, I never would have thought I could try pro wrestling. But if you could hang with Kevin James in the Ward Mellow wrestling room, which was like a sauna, then you could do anything.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you at the ballpark when you did that ballpark brawl back in the day.
That was like 2004.
You had that Buffalo
right?
Bison shirt they gave you, and I
I
saw you
wore the
wearing.
Bison shirt forever.
I
right?
saw you on the SmackDown episode
I
that one
did.
time.
When Tim Russert passed away, I wore my Bison's jersey because he was such a huge fan of all Buffalo sports. So I love that. Yeah, I got that. At
You still have it today?
I think I auctioned it.
Oh,
for
did you?
charity. Or maybe I auctioned it for the Foley Pizza Fund. Hopefully it was a good cause.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm Mike.
Mike, thank you.
Hey, Mike.
I was there too.
You were there too? Yeah. And then the next night we did Rochester, but it was raining so hard they had to wrestle in the concourse. But I just hung out with the Red Wings general manager last night. Went to see a friend of mine play some music.
You hung out with Dan?
With who?
With Dan Mason?
No, Nick, Grant Anderson,
Rochester, I
Nick
think.
Schieretti, he goes by two names.
He's not the GM, but okay.
Well, whatever. Don't make me look bad for the guy. So me, he was the GM. All right, go ahead.
Which promotion at their height was more extreme, FMW or ECW?
Well, I wrestled for IWA Japan. I did
Okay.
2 matches for FMW. I mean, FMW did stuff that ECW, because you had the freedom in Japan. Well, I guess they kind of did the same in ECW. Like, fans in Japan liked to be part of the action. They considered it something of an honor to get hit or chased. And it was more fun because they would more willingly play the role of an extra in a monster movie, and they would run from you and flee from you. So the only time I remember that being a detriment is after my opening round match in the Kawasaki Dream Tournament, has gone down in lore as the king of the death match. It was like 104 degrees, and there was no water, there was no beverage of any type, no fruit, anything. And I come out, I've got blood streaming down my eyebrow, and I'm trying to get somebody to get me something to drink, and they're all running from me. And I'm saying, "Kudasai," which means please, koshi, whatever, a small drink or whatever. And they were all running, but they're running with smiles on their faces. So it was easier to be extreme in Japan. And then, to this day, I don't know if, they would just create matches, and, the first match, I know thumbtacks been used a lot here, but I was in the first ever push pin misery death match, the first barbed wire brick match, and they just found different ways to create painful situations, none of which I actually enjoyed, I want to point out. All right.
Nice call.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
callback, right?
Yeah. Did you and Mike Awesome ever hook
No,
up
I
in
never
Japan?
wrestled. You hook up sexually?
Well,
We're just friends, man.
what do you feel comfortable answering?
No, I never wrestled Mike.
Oh,
I
okay.
wrestled with him as a partner in 10-man in one of those 2 ECW matches I had. I mean FMW matches. But no, he was such a talented guy.
Yeah, I heard he was such a
Turned into
sweet- I heard he was a
70s
sweetheart.
guy. What a bad, that was a bad move. All right, go ahead.
So I don't know what you wanna call them, but when it comes to you and Al Snow, there's gotta be a cutoff point of
The humor.
jokes, yes,
Stop.
because the last thing I want to
It
see
never gets old.
is one of you guys showing up at each other's doorstep saying, okay, what you just said was over the line and trying to kill each other.
First of all, that will never happen. And second of all, I called up Al after I watched Wrestlers on Netflix. It's so good, and I said, Al, I'd really like to be part of this. And he goes, hey, pick any day. I said, well, I'd like to do like a storyline, like an arc, like 6 weeks. And then I said, I won't charge you anything. He said, when can you start? So I've done about 10 shows for Al, and I think I have the luxury of making fun of him for life because I'm doing these shows. Because I like being part of it, And I'll be back on OVW in a few weeks.
Woo!
All right.
Glad to hear.
And that's some fun stuff lined up.
All right.
How often do you and the Undertaker interact?
How often do we interact? Well, I think the last time I saw, it was a subject I can't talk about. typically, I saw him a little over a year ago when we sat down and we watched the cell match.
On WWE Playbacks?
Yeah, playback,
I
yeah.
saw that video.
But I am in contact with him around Christmas time every year because I always write a special letter to his kids. Okay, so that's a nice thing, right? All right.
That is 7 from 7-Eleven and 11 right behind it. That kid is a historian. He's right there.
Oh, wait. Are you the young man I walked down here?
Oh,
no,
sorry,
he's back
he's
here.
back,
Okay,
back.
okay, he's
Yeah,
even
sorry.
smaller. Okay, go ahead. I broke Wahoo's leg with a classic wrestling shirt. Not as good as Dusty Sucks Eggs with the Harry Bunk shirt.
Son of a Plumber's a good one too.
Son of a Plumber's a good one.
Thanks for joining us today. It seems like you've established yourself as, one of the nice guys in the business. Down to earth, humble, and I know a lot of guys are.
I guess
but
I'm
you've
humble for a huge star.
accessible too seems to be one of the.
Yeah, right? Talking about being humble, get back to like an arrogant jerk. Okay.
So, I guess what could that that vibe? What can you attribute it to? As like upbringing, one parent, both parents, family, as someone in your life, or just the whole collective experience? Like what would you cite like influence wise as far as like your heart?
Yeah, my dad was a guy who really liked to help people. My mom was very kind-hearted, and I think a lot of it had to do with seeing the Wish kids who come to WWE and realizing we could make a difference. So when I left WWE, that was one of the first things, when I left full-time wrestling, that was one of the things I missed, and I was like, hey, if the kids aren't going to come to me, I'm going to come to the kids. And I reached out to a bunch of different, Paul Newman's Hole in the Wall Gang camp, and I showed up almost every week for a day or two for an entire summer. And then I wanted to be part of a camp in Long Island called Camp Adventure, but they required you to take a 6-hour course. My wife said, there's plenty of other places to go. I said, no, anything worth doing is worth doing well. So I went and I did the 6-hour course so I could volunteer. And so I was really proud that for 10 straight years, I volunteered at least twice a week, every week, for 10 years. And I thought that was a nice run. So I think another, this sounds corny, but the Jewel song Hands, that has the line, in the end, only kindness matters, I thought that was, that's one of my favorite lines. And I actually had it on one of those elastic bracelets until it broke, but I wore that for about 5 years. So that and my autism awareness, acceptance bracelets. I have a son on the spectrum, so and he taught me a lot about patience, my son, because he was different, patience and kindness. So we try to pass it on. It doesn't cost anything, In a world where you can be anything, be nice, be kind. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks for giving back.
All right, thanks.
You expect that from anyone who loves Christmas as much as you do.
Right, you're gonna carry your heart all year. Go ahead, my friend.
If you could have one final match, who would it be against?
Who would it be against? I'd like to see a triple threat. Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack. We can do it by way of the cinematic match now, right? Yeah. Man, you know what? When I was thinking about that last match, I'll tell you what. When I announced that intention, there were no shortage of people from every promotion reaching out to me. And one guy, I probably would have gone with, because he'd clearly done some thinking about it and lined out 6 straight weeks of TV, was MJF. Yeah. So, yeah.
That would have been a good match.
You've got him right there. So, we didn't take a photo together because we didn't want to ruin the secret meeting, but I heard what he had to say. I really liked it. I had no doubt that he would have pulled it off perfectly. And, he's so good and in his prime that he could have worked around my weaknesses and played to my strengths, and I think he could have done something pretty cool. MJF, final answer. Take that, Matt Cardona.
Well, first off,
Taker, nice to see you. The last time I saw The Undertaker was today.
yeah, first off, I respect you a hell of a lot.
Heck of a lot of kids here.
Sorry for language.
In our house, we still call it the heck in a cell with all my children around.
But that leads up to my question. How in the heck did you get up from that?
Oh, from when I was choke slam. Oh, both of them, right?
Yeah, both times through the roof and off the cell. To the announce table.
Look, I don't use the F word very often, but I'm going to drop it here. Fortitude.
Fortitude.
Earmuffs for the kids.
Just
Testicular fortitude. No, you know, we had a vision, and it's kind of instilled in you, or at least instilled in me, that you finish the match by any means necessary. It's a positive that they stop matches now. But if that match, we're talking about the cell match 26 years ago yesterday, if they had stopped the match, nobody would be talking about it.
Yep.
So it was seeing how two human beings could finish a match when one of them was no longer conscious. And the fact that we did it, I think is a testament not only to me, but to you, Undertaker, as well. So,
And then you came out and wrestled again that night.
I know I came out and I interfered in
Right,
Kane's
right,
match.
right.
Kane was joking around with me, goes, yeah, you know what else happened that night, 26 years ago yesterday? He said, I won the WWE title and no one remembers it. Nobody remembers that it happened, you know?
I got another question for you.
All right.
Well, he's got another side to him, an author.
Yeah, I read some books, yeah.
Yeah, what got you into writing those books?
Well, I'll be honest, I'll try to bottom line this one because we haven't got some more people to go.
Yeah.
They had a ghostwriter. I thought he was doing a mediocre job, and I thought I could do better than mediocre. And so I tried it, and I didn't know I had a writing style, you know, like, and it just turned out people liked my conversational style, and it was really a blessing because I've done, you know, 11 books, including 4. No, I had 5 bestsellers, 4 children's books.
Yeah.
And the last book I wrote is the one maybe I like the most, 150,000 words, only 25 copies out there, and it was just a memoir of me as a dad, writing down all the stories I want my children to remember. So that was a good one. That was a labor of love, and it took me longer, and I worked harder on it than any of the books I'd written previously. And no one will ever buy it, so.
And I got a couple words for you in your own turf. Have a nice day.
Nice day.
All right. Just want to let everybody know we've got just a little over 10 minutes left. Okay.
Hey,
So,
after MJF goes, can we bring the little fellow up here? Okay.
yeah. Just because we might run out of time here. So.
I just want to know that, you know, since you probably have talked your ear off enough about the Hell in a Cell.
Literally.
That's not how I lost my ear. Didn't fall off from talking.
How you lost your ear?
I just want
Is
to
everyone
know.
aware that I have an ear injury? Most of you are, right? I got my head caught up in the ropes in Munich, Germany, with one of those hand-eye coordination things that I talk so fondly of. In retrospect, I wish my hand-eye coordination hadn't been as good, because I sank the move, but I couldn't get out. And when I pushed my way out of there, part of me did not make the journey. So,
Oh, that cut your ear off?
it sure did.
Ow.
Yep.
So what you got there, Jed?
I just want to know what is exactly the process of, with all your extreme bumps and, you know, going through barbed wire attacks. How exactly did you go through everything to saying, you know, I'm just going to recover in like 1 week? Normally people would be like, that's going to take at least a month.
Well, I know when I came back from my first tour of IWA Japan, the doctor looked at me and said, I've heard about these type of injuries in prison breaks. I had so many lacerations on the hands and forearms.
Not to mention going around the world too, doing this.
Yeah, doing it, and traveling in coach, you know, all that time. I don't know how to answer that, except I'm just thinking of what Mr. Miyagi told Danielson about karate. He said, stand on one side of the road, you're fine. Stand on the other, you're fine. You stand in the middle, you get squashed like a grape. So you either do it 100% or you don't do it at all. And no one thinks less of you if you don't do it at all. But I wanted to try it. Terry Funk, and that's Funk with an N, so technically I'm not cursing on you. You know, rest his soul. He had just signed. There you are. You made it, right? Steve, can you come up here so I can tell this little story?
Okay.
Was I coming out of the elevator, or was I?
You were coming out of the elevator.
Coming out of the elevator, I see this amazing Patrick the Starfish cosplay.
Oh, that was you.
And I said, can I take a photo? And I had no idea she was a wrestling fan. You want to take a photo with me? And so we're actually posting on Instagram any minute now. And she's got the biggest smile on her face and told me who she'd be today. And so when I saw her, I was like, come here. So yeah, it made a nice memory for me. Really appreciate it. You never know who you're going to touch along the way, right? Look at that smile. Yeah. There you go. Thank you so much for being here. All right.
Okay, now we're gonna get the little guy here.
Little fellow. Okay.
All right, and we might have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions after that.
How many sockos do you own?
How many sockos do I own? You know, the truth is, I don't own many of them because I started giving away socks after every time I use one, I throw it into the crowd. You know, so I don't think I actually own any sockos, like any historically, you know, important sockos. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I'll tell you what I'll do for you. If you come to my table for being brave enough to stand up and ask a question, and I know, because I went to see Christina Ricci's Q&A a few years ago, and when I got up to the microphone, I was terrified. I was. I felt like Cindy Brady in that quiz show episode. Remember when she draws the blank, you know? So for being that brave, I'm going to make you a socko and sign it for you, okay? Next buddy. Best day ever?
Hey, Mick, and again, I'm glad you enjoyed the present I gave you last night with the
Yeah.
snow globe and all that.
That was awesome, man. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you enjoyed it. You mentioned before, and last time I talked to you, we were talking about the whole about the whole Cleveland, Ohio.
Lost in Cleveland, yeah.
Yes. Me personally, all my favorite stuff you ever did was with ECW, and especially your promos with like Mikey Riprack and the
Yeah,
whole
oh, yeah,
Gene.
yeah.
What, in your personal opinion, is this a lot better? Having a great promo or having a great match?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, you know, here's the thing. I'm not a mathematician, but I devised the formula: 9/10 talking tough, 1/10 backing it up. You'll be just fine. So once I realized I could talk about the things that I could do, would be willing to do, then you only had to back it up when it was time for your match. So I think the promos are more important than the matches themselves, because there are lots of guys who now do all the moves and technically have a good match, good to great. Not as many guys go out there and make you stop what you're doing and watch. And so like Bray Wyatt was one of those guys. I'd be home, I'd be working on 3 different things, my kids would be watching the show, and he'd come on and I'd drop everything. And so that's, you know, it's both a talent and a gift. But I'm really glad when I saw Ric Flair's documentary on ESPN, they kind of charted his course where you could see he wasn't always the nature boy. It took practice. And then when I was, WWE did a really nice 2-disc set called For All Mankind. It was the same thing. You could see that I was struggling and learning and getting better as time went on. So it reminds me of what Judah Friedlander, a great comedian, told me. It looks like he just plays off the crowd and just comes up with answers off the top of his head. And he pulled out a stack of index cards that had every conceivable answer to any question you might ask. And he said, dude, if what I do out there looks easy, it's because I've worked really hard to make it that way. So anytime you see somebody doing something that looks easy, it's probably because they've worked really hard at it. So there's a roundabout answer for you.
Great answer. And sorry, we only got time for one last one here, and then that's gonna have to be the last one.
But you know what? After this gentleman, and the rest of you can come up to the table and ask that question, okay?
Everybody
Sound
come
good?
to the table. Sorry about that, folks. It's just
All right.
the next guy's gotta come on.
How you
All
doing?
right, pressure's on you for having the last question here.
Alright, I'm trying to make it good. Hello? I get,
That was me. Okay. Works good with a plastic cup too, if you put it underneath your underarm and when you do it, oh my God. Just a little something you can do at parties.
So I'm gonna ask this the best way I can because it feels like we're in a
Can
smart
I
room.
thank you for wearing double cactuses? You're wearing a Cactus Jack wanted shirt and the 3 faces of Foley Roosevelt.
Good, good. So, like I said, I always felt it was like weird, like using like insider talk, like not really being inside the culture, but like still having an understanding of it,
Yeah.
so I can appreciate it. So I wanted to ask this in like the most protected way possible. You've been in matches with explosives, landlines.
By the way, don't do that stuff
Yeah,
here, okay?
please.
No jumping off houses, no landmines, no explosives, okay? I don't think I ever landed on a landmine. Explosives, yes. If I landed on a landmine, I don't think I'd be here
I
talking
have
to
to
you.
ask you a question too. What about with the barbed wire? If I could get
Stay away from that,
You'll
too,
get
yeah.
that one, yeah.
Stay away from that, okay?
So, like the communication, like with your dance partner, with the refs, once that stuff starts going off, is communication out the door, or is it like?
Well, it depends. You know, there were many a time, like I had one of my best matches in Japan with Terry, where we didn't even see each other, let alone get a chance to talk.
Oh, wow.
And you're just doing most of it by feel. You're acting and reacting. And there were a lot of times where you'd be in that situation with, you know, an opponent who was Japanese, who didn't speak, who was very limited in English, and you just go in. You know the chances of having a great match are much slimmer. But sometimes, you know, you create things that you couldn't have thought of, and you react without having to remember. So I was just talking with a friend of mine yesterday about my matches I'd have where I teamed up with Abdullah the Butcher, and like my opponents might come over to me, and I was like, well, it's Abdullah, we just make it up as we go, because you don't know what he's gonna do. And it's really fun. So, you know, you might look back at those matches we had over 30 years ago and say, well, they're not up to the standards of the day, but they also had a realism that you can't get when you work too many things out. So I've had a few that I planned out from A to Z. I showed up in FMW to wrestle Wing Kenimura, and he had like 6 pages of stuff. And I looked at it and I went, looks good to me. No, I didn't say no, because I like to have input in what I do, but this guy had spent so much time, and the spots were designed to make me look good. You know, and I was like, I like the way you make. He'll come up to me at like WrestleCon, ask if I remember. I'm like, yeah, I remember you really well. Like you put it, yeah. So there's no one way to get to the finish line. You know, it's about, you know, what's the best way for you to get there. So that's a good way to leave things. I'll put it this way, okay? Steve Austin and The Rock were both 2 of the all-time greats, right? Steve was a lot of things, but a brilliant illusionist was not one of them. If Steve's punches looked like they hurt, it's because they did. And I remember saying to Triple H, you know, before he, you know, started running the company, I was like, Hunter, I said, you've been in there with Rock and Austin, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, what's the main difference between the two of them? He goes, Steve's punches hurt like hell and Rock's don't hurt at all. That's it. But they both were great at what they did. So there's no one way to get there. You know, some guys work super snug, as we call it. Some guys, you know, I mean, you know, it's not like you can get out of the rock bottom and the things that Rock did that, you know, were genuinely painful, but his punches at the people's elbow were not. You know, I hate to break it to you, but the people's elbow, possibly the worst finishing move. Oh, you're not recording that, are you? I love you, brother. Love you like a brother. Like a brother-in-law came to see me, brother.
We'll talk about putting a rock bottom on the end of this conversation. Folks, I hope that was a great question. I hope you all had a great time. Let's hear it for the living legend, hardcore Mick Foley.
We're gonna take one more question here. All right, so you get that last question.
What's your least favorite thing about your wrestling job?
My least favorite thing about my wrestling job, maybe that I can no longer eat corn on the cob. Yeah. I can't wear sunglasses because I don't have an ear to support them. But other than that, it was pretty good. Pretty. Come on here for a photo. Okay. Hey, hopefully some of you stopped by the table. If not, thanks so much for coming here and supporting me and the convention. I know you were goodbye again. Goodbye for a second. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, brother. Have a nice day.